Ugh. All right, you dorks. All right. This week's video, not that exciting, but it may be helpful to somebody, and not even Promaster specific. This video is called How to Interpret or Decipher or Read or Otherwise Comprehend an estimate from a shop. And it kind of tells you what you're looking at, and I don't know, nobody talks about this crap unless you're a dirty-handed mechanic like myself. So you may find this educational, or you may find it really stupid. I have a sound effect. Okay, we're going to do this in voiceover, and I'm going to try and keep it succinct. As you can see, I have blotted out the name of the customer and his VIN and all that stuff, because you don't need to know that. This was submitted by a fellow named Ken on the FaceTubes or the UFace, or one of I forget which. I guess it must have been Facebook, and it's quite a good example of how an estimate is generated from a shop. So this estimate is generated, I'll show you here. Okay, see in the very far lower right it says copyright Mitchell. There's a few companies, but Mitchell and AllData are the most popular, and those are subscription services that mechanics or shops buy, and it shows you for any particular job the parts you'll need and the part numbers, the step-by-step for most of it, and most importantly the labor rates to charge. Alright, here's a screenshot of my AllData account. I've typed in rocker arms, and this is their page for the rocker arm job. As you can see, it shows you the part number and the price you should be charging the retail. And this one's a little bit ambiguous, but it's showing how much labor in hours you should be charging for the left bank, the right bank, or both banks. We charge 8 hours for both banks, and other shops may improvise on that time depending on how familiar they are with the job. AllData times are usually pretty aggressive. You got to be pretty good to meet that time, but in this particular case, not really. Okay, so if we go back to the dude's estimate, you can see on the right there, labor description. He's come up with, he probably charges $100 an hour, and he's charging for 12 hours. That's how he arrived at that number. It's possible that those numbers are juggled, but whatever. And it says everything he's going to do. It says what he's going to recommend. That's his writing, not AllData or Mitchell's writing, generally speaking. But then we look over on the left side, and we see all the parts. So what the dude has done, what the shop has done, is they're putting every part they can. Let's talk about those parts. Okay, so as you can see, they've got the quantity and they've got the sale price. Let's take a look at the spark plug at the top. So if you walk into AutoZone, I forget exactly what you'll pay, but I think you'll pay 21 bucks for an NGK spark plug or something like that. It doesn't really matter, because what he's doing is he's taking his price and he's multiplying it by 1.5%. That's pretty industry standard. We do that on some stuff. I don't do it on others. I'm kind of willy-nilly about it. But he's basically unloading the parts cannon at it, which is fine. That's kind of a shop's prerogative, how many parts they want to replace and how much they want to replace everything. And in some senses, I see the logic, because they don't want it coming back, and they also want to use the highest quality parts for two reasons. One, they don't want it coming back, and two, that's the most profit off the highest quality parts. All right, but let's dig into some specifics. Because I'm familiar with all these parts, so familiar, I can tell you some things about them, like the second thing, the valve cover gasket set. It's costs about 65, 70 bucks. He's marked it up. Okay, that's what he's doing, 1.5. The intake gasket set, I don't know if that's a Mealy part number. Anyway, but here's where it gets important. The camshaft exhaust left. This guy, in his estimate, he wants to replace all 4 camshafts, which isn't strictly necessary, but whatever. Those 7-digit numbers, that 518-4377-AH, is the camshaft part. That's a Chrysler part number. They'll end in 2 digits, or 2 letters, with the last letter being the revision number. So cam followers, those are the lifters. They've never been replaced because they're AA parts. He's got another camshaft. He's got the left intake left and intake right. Again, those are Chrysler part numbers. Now, do those camshafts cost $475? Actually, $57. He's actually being quite generous, because if you go to a Chrysler dealer, they cost more. He's not marking those up by a lot. All right, as we continue down the list past the camshafts, he's got a gallon of antifreeze. Normally, to do the rocker arms, you wouldn't need to drop any coolant, but he's actually doing the oil cooler as well. And as you can see, he's got a Chrysler part number, so he's going back in with the same original Chrysler plastic cooler. I'm against that, but that's a different story. You also see the rocker arms there. That AH is important. Those are the latest revision of the rockers, and they actually solve this problem. He's billing for an oil temp sensor and a temp sensor and a pressure switch that go in the oil cooler, so he's adding that too. Okay, if we go and dig a little deeper on his labor side, you can see that he's going to do all 24 rocker arms and lifters and all 4 cams and all the spark plugs, the valve cover gaskets, and the intake gaskets, and he's also going to replace the cooler while he's there, which is okay, in an oil change. Now this particular estimator is conscientious because he's recommended a new intake boot. He's found that it's torn. Super common. It'll be torn on the bottom. I have videos on that, I think. If I don't, I'll make one. And also knowing to replace the oil cooler while you've done all the work to get everything to expose the valve covers is smart because you're saving quite a bit of labor. The oil cooler job is a 3-hour job by itself. This way you're shaving some off, and maybe that's why his labor time is up to 12 hours. As a matter of fact, I guess it would be. And now we get to the eye-watering second page, which is the total. Ouch! Oh, that hurts. That's got to sting. But it isn't an unfair price. As a matter of fact, it's very standardized, and the purpose of this video is to show you that these things generally are standardized. The labor rate is standardized by Mitchell or ALLDATA, and the parts prices are standardized by the amount you mark your parts up and where you buy them, and then you just do it. So the guy isn't out of line, and this system of having Mitchell or ALLDATA estimate the labor for you it's needed, because how the hell else are you going to do it? How's the mechanic going to know what to charge? And you as the customer, you want to know ahead of time what this thing is going to cost, don't you? All right, so this is customer supplied it also. It turned out that only one cam was bad, but obviously they used all 3 cams. The reason this job was so expensive is there's $2,200 of cams in there. I have found that you just replace the bad one, and if the other ones are good, they're good forever. But, you know, that's the main reason why that main number is so eye-watering. But this cam, this lobe is clearly gacked, and that's the source of your tick and your misfire and all your fun. I suppose it should be said the other reason this invoice is so eye-watering is that he's got a bunch of stuff on there that you actually don't need to do. Like, let's go down. So you don't need to do the spark plugs unless you need to do them, although it's a good time. The valve cover gasket set, we reuse them all the time, and they generally don't leak. The intake gasket set, if you buy the Dorman oil cooler, it comes with the intake gasket, so you save $60 right there. And the oil cooler's, what did he charge for it? $309, so that's about what you'd pay for the Dorman, more or less, at a shop. What else has got intake gasket? Got cams. You don't have to do all 24 lifters. In fact, we just go in, test them with our fingers, and replace the bad ones. Usually it's only one or two. And you do have to do all 24 rockers because that's what you're there to do. But you don't need 4 cams unless you need 4 cams. It's got the oil cooler. It's got oil. You don't need to do the oil temp sensor. Those never go bad. But the pressure switch is probably a good idea because those do go bad commonly. And that's why. But that's why that's jacking that invoice to the moon, baby. I'm hesitant to put what we would charge for the same job on there for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want to be the cheapest in the world, and I don't like to brag, and I don't like to make other shops look like they're overcharging you. And also, this video may age, and those prices may change, and so on and so forth. But for this same job, if somebody came in and needed the rocker arms and 1 cam, it's around $1,600, something like that. Again, the oil cooler, we charge 3 hours plus the parts. Really, it's only 1 part, and we don't do an oil change while we're there. You know, spark plugs is pretty straightforward too. Spark plugs is 2.7 hours if we're just going in to do the plugs, because you got to take the intake off, and that often runs into other issues. And I'm perfectly frankly happy if I can do the job in an hour but bill for 2.7. That's because I'm good and I should be rewarded for that. Now, you would expect me to be, since I only work on this one engine, so what the hell? What's wrong with me? Anyway, I hope some of that video gives you an idea of what you're looking at when you get an invoice or you get an estimate, and they're so disparate from 2 different places. The other place may know the tricks. The one place may know the tricks but not want to do them because they want your money, and they are in business to make money. This particular invoice was a mobile mechanic, so he's going to come out to the guy's house and do it in his driveway, and that's worth a premium as well, especially in the winter time. Good God, what an existence. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I've enjoyed blathering at you right in your ear. Have fun, kids, and, you know, let's cuddle and touch the tips. He's a goddamn law.